Hey guys, got our feather today. 50 dots on there. So today is 51 uses. And I thought that even though I did find that the Fat Boy did a reasonable job at shaving with the feather yesterday, I'm going to try with another razor that I enjoy a lot. This is the kind of little stepbrother of the first twist to open razor that was made. This is the 1936 Gillette Aristocrat, and very similar looking as the 1934, which is the first one. And they made a few small changes. The head is a little thicker. It bends the blade with a little bit more curve with the 36 here. The 34 is a little bit more flat, and so this one gives a much more comfortable shave to me. And I've seen other people make similar remarks. So let's throw the feather in there and see how it works. As usual, simple twist. And then this is a feather, and there's my little marking to show you that it's the same feather. And there we go. You can see the blade exposure, kind of not very much, and it does kind of curve it. So let's just see if that helps this old blade to work well. Maseto shaving, available on eBay. This is the finest Badger, and it's very soft. It does have treated tips. It's got a little bit of firmness in the backbone. If you want less firmness, they're silver tip. I like this Memphis handle. It's what this shape is called for them. And this is the 2-band. White, dark. The 3-band has a much slimmer band of dark before it starts again with the lighter color. That's because it's gathered from different hair, different part of the Badger, so the hair coloring is slightly different. And so a lot of people are liking the firmness of the backbone of these type bristles, which keep those tips at your face instead of maybe splaying too much for some people. So this is popular in many circles. I do have reasonably soft water here, and it is cold. The soap, reach back in time now with Jefferson Square. This is, and I'm kind of going into this one blind. We've got pictures of lavender on the front, so I can kind of assume it's going to have some of that. Yeah, but there's some other, almost like some bergamot or some kind of orange, zesty kind of thing to it. So this is Mickey Lee Soapworks. They unfortunately closed their doors last year, and so their soaps are going to gradually become harder to come by. They weren't top tier, but they were reasonable, and they had some very interesting scents, and because of that, and they had a lot of fans as well, probably because of good business practices and good relationships with their people, and so they were missed, and I can see why. So let's just use some Jefferson Square and see how we like it. The blade is in there. Let me get my face wet. All right. The brush has been soaking for a while. These 2-band Badgers with the treated tips, I like to soak them for longer than just a few minutes, because the tips do change with the water time. All right, so I've shaken out most of the water. This one hasn't been used in a while. Yeah, nice. Okay, so let's do just a 30-second load. We'll start at the 15 mark. Just kind of moderate pressure, not a whole lot. Just enough to where I feel like the tips are really able to work the soap. So that's 15 seconds. And there we go. Got a little cleanup operation there. Nice. I'm going to rinse off the threads here. And today we're going to use this red melamine bowl from the Dollar Tree. It's about 6 inches in diameter, and boy, it looks like about half that in depth, interior depth. So we'll just start. It flexes the tips and bristles really nicely because the round bottom is kind of close together at the bottom of the bowl, but then my knuckles don't bang on anything, neither does the brush. And then the lather, the walls are high enough, as you can see right there, where the lather doesn't need to go any higher. So I'm liking this bowl so far. For $1, I'm finding it hard to find bad things about it. Now I forgot my syringe that I'm able to communicate with you about how much water I used, but you know, we'll just roll with it. Definitely smell that lather. I'm sorry, lavender. And this doesn't even really need any kind of agitator at the bottom, but just for fun I may glue some little glass beads or something, epoxy some little glass beads to the bottom, mainly to keep the brush from sinking down into the lather. Let's add a little bit more water. Mickey Lee might be one of those soap bases where I like to keep it a little on the drier side because it doesn't hold together quite as well as some others when it's hydrated really, really well. Can't remember. I got some really creative scents, some really good one. Girate is one that they kind of made, and then I don't think it stayed as a part of their permanent lineup, but man, that was so good. Kind of a dark, a rich, ambery kind of scent, but it had these extra awesome things in it because I don't normally like a lot of amber, but it had just the right stuff that made me really enjoy it. Ruby's Green is another one that they had that was very interesting. I tried Reunion, that was a pretty good one. Yeah, it's starting to change appearance now, you can see there. Gaining in volume. Let's take a feel. Nice and slick, but it's not, you know, quite as slick as some, and so I think that's, you know, one of the reasons why it's not regarded quite as much as a top tier kind of soap. Slickness is kind of thin and almost falls away. Not a lot of viscosity there. Let's put in just a little bit more water. And then we'll just make sure we get a good mix. I may have to add more water to the brush during the shave, but that's okay. The scent is a decent strength. I like that part about it. Coming up to my nose and letting me know it's there. It's not going to be forgotten about. It's not too strong. It's not being obnoxious. So that's good. Okay, let's see how it looks, kind of show you the viscosity visually. I'm going to come down, bring the soap all the way down to the bottom of the bowl here, and then lift up about half of it. Look how it collapses on itself. So that way we can kind of see the structure of it. Then we can also, again, gather it down into a ball, but this time pick up a lot of it. Slowly wiggle. It drops and then deforms slightly. We also have a long peak up here at the top. So those are some, characteristics to look for. I probably could add a little bit more water, but let's just try what we have here. So water on my face again. And here we go. Come on now. No reason to be that way. So with the first pass, since I don't do a pre-shave routine that involves soap, I just wet my whiskers a little bit. I like to work the lather in a little bit. And then that is nice because if it's a brush that I enjoy, I get to feel those tips, feel it working, enjoy the kind of the massage on my face, but that is also giving the lather time to work into my skin, clean the oils away, prep for the shave. This feels like maybe it's a little too wet, but in a way I don't think it actually is. I think it's just very hydrated. And this is a brush with backbone, and so when I get to the end and do and switch directions, maybe it's having a tendency to be a little springy. This handle does get slippery because it's got a nice gloss on it, and so it's a piece of cake to just put it under the water and rinse away the soap, and then you're back to where you want to be. All right, let's see what we have on my face. 51 shaves starting now with the feather. That is very tuggy. So I don't think this razor is quite the one for this feather at this stage. So I'm careful to go with the grain only, prevent me from having any really bad irritation. And very light touch. Yeah, there is some good residual slickness here. So let's just pretend that soap was too wet. Too wet. The layer on my face was kind of thin. So what can you do? Well, just go back to the tub. Let's take the brush kind of as it existed at the end of the first pass. Gather up just a little bit more soap. If you gather up too much, then you're forced to go back and add more water. And you're kind of starting your mix all over again with your ratios. Now, what I have in the bowl is a lather that's maybe a little too watery. What I have on my face now is a lather that's too dry. So I wanted to work that concentrated stuff into my face. Now I can go in and get some of the wet stuff from the bowl and bring it in. This is a theory I have. We'll see if it works. This lather looks a lot better than before. I think you probably could use a little bit of water, but we'll just skip it for now. Now, you know what we can do? We can just dip the brush in the water. Now let's see if we can work that around. I like this brush and often recommend it along with the Sterling Finest Badger for people just kind of interested in a budget badger that has a little bit more backbone than maybe a super soft silver tip. This is, I think, maybe in the $45 price point, and the finest badger from Sterling that I'm talking about is maybe in the $30 to $32 price point, and they're terrific badgers for that price. People sometimes say that decent badgers are just expensive and the cheap ones are junk, but I don't think that's true at all. In this case, these are examples of that not being true for sure. Now, sometimes when you get a Tuggy first pass, the rest of them are fine. Let's see what we get. Yeah, much nicer, comfortable. You can hear, you probably can hear. Hear some of the cutting, but I'm not feeling tugging very much. A little, just, I mean, a tiny bit, but it's nothing really to worry about at all. I'm careful with my technique on my neck since it's being a little that way. All right, very good. I like the scent. It's not super manly, but it's also not really feminine. What it kind of reminds me of, and maybe this is what it's supposed to remind me of, is just kind of clean, fresh, maybe a barber shop. I think that's what it's going for. Yeah, just kind of traditional shaving with definite lather tone, lavender tones in there. All right. So now let's see what we have left in the brush. Now we have plenty of lather, but what I meant was, do we have some more of that concentrate still in there that I picked up from the tub during the second pass? Let's just see. And so I'm just gonna kind of spread it around. Don't have to work it into my skin anymore because I've done that in the first pass. Just lay down a decent layer, and there we go. Cross grain again on my cheeks, holding the razor loosely. And now we have full comfort. Just a little bit of blade feel. I have the motions where I like to shave kind of memorized. I was talking with somebody online recently, and he was saying that his passes are just going so slow. Well, he doesn't have the muscle memory yet, and that's normal, totally normal. I'm going to do a little bit of stretching, just light stretching, just to make sure that this, my trouble spot, gets the best chance here. Chin away, hand here, making sure that we kind of keep the skin flat-ish. Don't want to over pull, over stretch, because that can result in ingrown hairs and things like that. But I told him just to keep going slow. It's better, you know, so many things are this way, many sports. Do it slowly, right, and then gradually your right will get faster. If you try to rush and do it wrong, then your wrong is what becomes your future. All right. And yeah, then have to retrain yourself later. Yeah, looks like a nice close cut. So sure, a little tuggy on the first pass. Wouldn't really want to use this razor with this blade at this stage. But my skin has forgotten about that tugging. It just wasn't a big deal. Nice shave in the second and third pass, and I'll go back to thinking about my fat boy as the razor to use with this feather. Who knows if I'll get to 100? Some people have. We'll see. But we're at 51. So after this kind of blind evaluation, I would kind of put my summary with this soap as a lavender focused soap with some other elements. Maybe a little bergamot, not a lot, and some greenery, some green notes as well to accent it, to tweak it in a little bit, so you're not just immediately thinking, well, lavender. It's almost like a soapy lavender in a way. And in terms of lavender scents, I think it's really nice. I think it's great. It softens up the pure lavender kind of smell and brings in those other elements that I was talking about. So I'm going to be really curious with the scent description that they have for this. I'm sure I missed, you know, a bunch of notes and stuff, but those are just kind of the ones that stood out to me. All right, well, here's the Maseto Finest. You can see how dense it is. I really enjoy it. I like the handle. It's ergonomic for my big hands, and for bowl lathering, your fingers only come up to here, so some of the soap can, as you saw, gather right there. I just think it's a good brush all the way around. I'll put another dot on the feather. Wash my bowl out. Ah, I think we're good. Okay. Well, I forgot to bring down a post-shave product. So what do I have that's going to work well with this? I think I'll throw on a little bit of Old Spice. I don't think it's going to necessarily work with the lavender too much, but it might. It might be fun. if I remember. If it's a notable combination, I'll throw something in the comments of the video, in the description of the video. Well, there we go. You saw the elasticity of the Mickey Lee as I was pulling it out. Next time, maybe I need to not quite add so much water. Keep it just a little bit more firm. That stretch, that long stretch that we had, you know, might be an indicator that it's a little too wet for this particular soap base. But it performed well. It gave me nice slickness. Protected me too. I don't have any irritation that I feel at all. So I don't have a problem continuing to enjoy these Mickey Lee soaps. I'll just have to remember to run them a little drier than usual. So this is the very similar to the first ever TTO created. They made it open comb because everything before that was not everything before that, but many things before that were open comb. There were definitely some solid bars. Yeah, I believe so. Don't hold me to that. Things like old types were ahead of this guy. The new standard, I believe. This was, I would guess, an effort in making people think, hey, this is automated. Instead of having this multi-piece unit that you have to disassemble and then reassemble with a blade in it and that sort of thing, it's easy now. Twist, drop, close, and go. And I'm sure the convenience and that sort of thing was their thought. It works really well. It gives me nice, close, comfortable shaves, and it just happens to not do that as well with the old feather. But a young feather works really well in it, and pretty much any other blade I've put in it I've enjoyed with comfortable, non-tuggy shaves fully. So there we go. All right, well, I think that's all I have to report today. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I hope there's been something in this video to help you out. And you take care. Good night.